think that he knew what I was going to be the day I was born. I think he has this all planned out to find out how I would take this and how I would carry it. You know what I'm saying?
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Ratchet Christian. As always, well, first of all, I am the Ratchet Christian. I feel like I introduce my guests and then I never introduce myself. And we actually don't have a guest today. It's just me. It's just me. And I feel like I haven't been by myself in so long. So we're just going to chit chat. We're going to kiki. We're going to just get into it. That's my husband back there making some noise. You better keep it down. He has headphones on. He can't even hear me. But yeah, no. So it's just me here, which I'm like, I have not done in a minute. It's nice to just be able to yap and talk and not have to take a deep breath to like let somebody else get a word in, which I've practiced and feel like I've gotten better at that too. So I've been working on my active listening skills here. But it's just us. If you're watching this, clearly you can see that I have on a shirt. I have on my, let me move out the way a little bit. Yeah, can you see it? You can see, there you go. If you're watching this, you can see that I have on my Jesus Led a Heaux shirt. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, I am debuting my merch. So I made this shirt. I designed it myself through, I designed it. And then I have a third party that makes it for me. But this is my brainchild. And before I started, making it available for like purchase, which it is now finally, I just kind of wanted to explain my heart behind the shirt. I know you see something like this and it's like, that's wild. Like, why would somebody do this? Like, what does that even mean? Like, and so, I just want to take the time to really explain my reasoning and what it really means when you do wear this shirt. If you were to choose to buy it, I mean, I'm going to wear it. It fits super cute. It's super comfortable. But there's a real meaning behind it. And for me, it just gives me an opportunity to share my testimony. So when I wear this shirt out in public, I feel like I don't have to chase people down with the Bible and be like, have you heard the good news? But I get an opportunity to share about what Jesus has done for me. And I feel like earlier in the year, I kind of like, I shared my story about how I used to strip in college. And then we have just gone, headfirst into politics after that, and then having guests and all that type of stuff. And I haven't really circled back to it because it was really hard to do the first time around. I think I talked about it in probably like April or March. And that's the first time I ever publicly talked about the fact that I was a spicy dancer, a midnight ballerina, if you will. And I don't do so without like, being afraid or being worried about what people think about me. Like I care about what people think about me, but it's never the deciding factor on what it is that I'm going to do. Like I consider it, but I don't live my life based off of what people are going to think about me. It matters because I'm not a sociopath, but it doesn't get the final decision. Like what God wants me to do is ultimately what I'm going to do. And what aligns with me and what's true to me is also what I'm going to do. And thankfully, I have a supportive husband who understands and just loves me and gets me. So I'm doing a whole lot of rambling because I'm like, how do I get into it? So I was thinking about this scripture, and Solomon, I didn't send it to you. It's not in the notes. It's just something that I thought about as I was driving here. And so I'll just pull it up on my phone. It says, it's in Song of Solomon's chapter 2, verses 7, 3 through 5. It's in Song of Solomon. And the verse is, do not awaken love before its time. And the AI overview says, it comes from the Bible, Song of Solomon's, urging patience and warning against rushing romance or physical intimacy before emotional maturity and readiness, allowing love to develop naturally and deeply rather than forcing it, which protects hearts from premature complications and heartbreak. And so for me, like, love was awakened before its time for me. I didn't really have an opportunity to choose when I would lose my virginity. Somebody took that from me. And I'm just going to talk openly and talk candidly on here. I've spoken about this before, that it's like I am an SA survivor. I was SA'd by a relative at the age of 7, molested by another, and so on and so forth. I've gone most of my life as like a young woman and as a child being sexually assaulted by people or being, exposed to things that were way ahead of my time, due to the carelessness of the adults around me. I was exposed to pornography in 4th grade. You know what I mean? I think I watched porn the first time when I was in 4th grade. I saw my first like nudie magazine in 4th grade. Like, So it was just a lot of things being waken up within me before I had the time or the opportunity to choose, or even the cognitive ability to understand what sex was. You know, I'm like, sex was always either happening around me or happening to me in a very passive way. And so through that, you know, I feel like as I became a young woman after being introduced to sex the wrong way, nobody ever came back to like reframe that for me. You know, when I entered young adulthood, the I always say, like, I never really had a birds and the bees conversation. My birds and the bees conversation was after I was, you know, essayed, going to therapy, and the therapist being like, show me what the two dolls did. Like, she would give me one doll, one was a boy, one was a girl, and then she was like, show me what your cousin did to you. And I had to do that as a child, and I just took the dolls and put one on top of the other, and like, that's what happened, you know? So I went from that. Nobody ever talked to me about sex again, to a friend's aunt when I had my first boyfriend at 15. You know, the sex conversation was, are you fucking? And I'm like, maybe. And she's like, well, get on birth control. That was it. That's all the information that I had as a young woman going into sexuality. You know what I mean? It was assault, and then it was get on birth control. And it worked. I listened. I got on birth control. I'm 33 with no kids, so praise the Lord. I thank my friend's aunt for that piece of advice, because I followed it. You know, I was looking for a sense of direction. I was looking for some type of wisdom. I had no knowledge about dating. I had no knowledge about, sexuality and protecting whatever virginity I had left, or even trying to figure out, like, am I still a virgin? You know, if my cousin did this to me. And I just had a lot of questions, and I wasn't prepared, and I was just going off of what I knew. And so because of that, you know, I feel as though, you know, I was promiscuous in a way. And so I remember being in 7th grade and somebody calling me a hoe because I wore a skirt to school. Somebody called me a hoe in 7th grade because I wore a skirt to school. And by then I hadn't had any type of, you know, contact with somebody outside of, you know, being essayed when I was 7. And so, like, people calling me names like that. I remember in 10th grade, still hadn't really been doing anything like wild or anything like that. I had my first job at 14. I started working. I wanted to buy a dress for homecoming, and I was so proud of myself. I saved up my money. I went shopping. I bought this cute little, like, French dress and like some red heels. I had a date to prom. Like, I handled all of it. And I remember, like, my foster mom not helping me to buy any of that stuff. But I'm like, I got it. You know, I'm working. It's not a problem. I was so proud of how I looked. And as I was walking out of the door, you know, to go to homecoming, my foster mom was on the phone, and she said to whoever it was that she was talking to, like, yeah, that's her. She's going out of the house right now looking like a little prostitute. And that just shattered me. It just, like, oh my God, that broke my heart. And so I have people at school that are calling me a hoe. My mom at home insinuated, all because of how I was dressing, And it's like, I probably did dress, older than my age and dress sexually, but I had been sexualized by the people around me. And it just came to me like, you know what, if everybody has a problem with what it is that I'm wearing, you all don't buy my clothes. Buy my clothes if you don't like where it is that I'm wearing, you know? And so for me, you couldn't tell me nothing, because I'm like, I take care of myself. I buy my own clothes. I'm going to dress how I want to. And so it went from being sexualized at school. You know, you're in middle school, people are calling you ugly, and then out of nowhere, you go into puberty, and now you have a body and you have a little bit of a shape, and boys start showing you attention. And that was my case. I'm like, okay, boys are showing me attention now. Not knowing that, you know, these they're young boys. They're just looking to see who's easy, who they can have sex with. And so I started, you know, having sex in high school, and then rumors spread about me. I just went throughout high school just feeling not liked, feeling like people were calling me a slut, people were calling me a hoe, and all these types of things. And it was hurtful, but I just pretended like, I don't care. I'm a boss babe. Doesn't matter to me. But deep down, like, I hated it, and I was ashamed. But nobody would know that my introduction to sex was improper and way too soon and way too early. And so that was my high school experience. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to mess with these F boys that are nowhere just using me. When I go off to college, I'm going to make better choices and better decisions. And so when I went to college, I didn't really date too much. You know, I had a serious boyfriend for most of college. That relationship was tumultuous. If you ever meet him and talk to him, I was the bad guy in the story. I was a terrible person. To him, he was great. And if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm a better person now. I wish you and your family all the best. But yeah, no, I was hurt, and hurt people. And so out of that relationship, when I got to college, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be out in these streets. I'm not going to be hooking up with a bunch of guys. I'll do, this a little here and there, but not too much, because I know how it felt to like kind of have like a bad reputation in high school and to carry the weight of that with me. And so in college, I wasn't like sleeping around or anything like that, but I needed a car my last 2 semesters of senior year. And because I was moving off campus, and I'm like, I need money. I need a place. I need a way to be able to get a car so I can get back and forth to school. And I was like, well, I'm just going to strip. You know what I mean? I always knew that my life would get to that point. I always knew at some point that I would end up stripping, because it's like that's where all the roads lead to. You know what I mean? When you're essayed, you're exposed to sex, and then you're out there having sex at a young age. Like, it just very easily happens. And even if I flash forward, before I started stripping, I did a bikini contest at a strip club. Because I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be able to win some money and just buy a car. And then when I didn't win that money, I was like, oh, but I can still work at this club and save money to buy a car. And so when I was 20 years old, that's what it is that I did. And I remember, at this time, I'm reading my Bible. I'm not going to church, but I pray. And I just always felt God's presence with me, even through all my mistakes, even through all the things that I was doing that was wrong. Even when I was having sex outside of marriage, I knew it was a sin. I don't know why I knew it was a sin, but I did. When I would go to the strip club at night, I would just pray, and ask God to help me to get home safely, because I know that it was a dangerous place to be, and that people who go there don't leave the same. So I just always knew to pray, even through all my sin, even through all my mistakes. I knew that God's hand was on me. I always felt his presence. And I knew that he was somebody that I could go to. And so you flash forward through all of that. I graduate college. I get my car, by the way. I get my car. If there's one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get the job done. So I stripped. I saved up money. I got the car, left that whole life behind. Got into another relationship after that. And one thing too, I was always in a relationship. Either I was breaking up with somebody, or somebody was on their way to talk to me, or I was talking to somebody. I was always in a cycle of being brokenhearted, being used, or something like. I was just always going through a lot of like relational turmoil. And I remember the last relationship that I had in 2016, the breakup was so bad. I was so depressed that I was like, you know what? Like, I can't take another one of these types of heartaches. Like, I think I'll probably just like jump off a bridge, like unalive myself, to have this type of pain, to be used like this by men, to be hurt like this by people. Like, I'm like, Lord, I can't take it. I'm going to give you a year. Like 2016, that year, I decided to go to church on New Year's Eve instead of going to the club. And I was like, okay, God, I'm going to give you 1 year to change my life. I'm going to stop doing everything that I know is ruining my life. I'm going to take my Bible seriously. I'm going to start going to church. And if my life changes for the better, great. And if it doesn't, then I'll just keep doing what it was that I was doing in peace. So in 2016, I decided to be celibate. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I stopped having sex outside of marriage. And I'll just say, I won't even say I stopped. God empowered me to. Jesus gave me the power to stop doing the things that I know were making me miserable. And my life has never been the same after that, and it wasn't a change overnight. I was celibate for 7 years before I got married, but behind that was a lot of mistakes. It was a lot of, stop and start and go. I would go 6 months and end up, having sex with an ex. I would go 3 months and be like, dang, okay, I slipped back into this behavior. So it was a lot of stop and go, but I just never stopped trying. I never stopped trying. And then before I knew it, I had a year celibate. And then after that, it was 2 years celibate. After that, it was 3 years celibate. And I'm like, when you've been 3 years celibate, ain't nobody gonna come and mess you up. No one's worth it. And I just had a lot of teaching where God just explained to me what sex was and the power behind it. And the fact that it's a covenant, it's a soul tie. And the reason why the enemy comes into our life so early to mess us up sexually, because he knows how powerful it is. He knows how sex and sexuality and your sexual identity can ruin your life. And that's what the enemy tried to do to me at a very, very young age. But to God be the glory, he intervened in my story and delivered me from a lot of pain and hurt and suffering that came from having been sexually assaulted. Jesus has come into my life and restored me and given me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but also has given me mercy and has removed the shame off of me, has removed the guilt off of me, has removed all of those labels that people put on me, whether it's hoe, thought, this, and that. Oh, I heard about you, all that stuff. Jesus has given me beauty for my ashes. And so this shirt is an opportunity to just share that story. Like, Jesus loved hoes, and he do, you know what I mean? And when I say hoes, I wasn't selling it. I was not selling it. And even if you were, Jesus has a place in his heart for you, and he can redeem you and he can restore you. And I feel like a lot of the conversation around sexuality with women is like, own it, it's yours, like men get to do it, sleep with whoever it is that you want, and this and that, not knowing that it's like, oh, that really, it destroys you in the end. You know, a lot of the feminist movement, I feel like we missed the piece of, yes, we want to empower women, but we don't want to empower women to keep doing the same things that destroy them. And as for me, I'll just speak for me personally, like me having sex outside of marriage was something that was destroying me. And so God intervened in my life and gave me wisdom, you know, through reading my Bible, through listening to sound doctrine and sound teaching around what sex really is and the covenant that it is and how mighty and powerful that it is and how the enemy uses it as a tool in our lives to destroy us. And God was able to, you know, sex was awakened in my life before it was time. And Jesus put it back to sleep. I was celibate for 7 years. And in that 7 years, you know, and my friend pointed out to me too, like, oh, you were SA'd when you were 7 and then you were celibate for 7 years before marriage. 7 is the number of perfection. You know, God used those 7 years to restore me, to heal my broken heart, to give me wisdom and knowledge around this area. And I'm still learning. But any way that I can, I just try to go back and share my story with people. I'm always just talking to like the 17-year-old me. You know, these are the things I need to hear as a young woman, as I was looking for answers, as I was looking for a role model, as I was looking for advice, you know? And so mistakes don't disqualify. If you've already been out in the streets, if you've had your sneaky links, you've had more than your fair share and you're tired of it, like, you can retire. You can hang up your jersey, baby. Jesus can delete your heauxness. I know they dragged Drea when she said that, but I truly do believe it. Maybe she didn't have the spiritual language to explain it, but you can be redeemed. Mistakes don't disqualify, and that goes for men and women. Like, if you've been out there, the Bonnie Blues of the world, like corn stars, all of that, God can redeem you. And he redeems us and accepts us as we are, not for us to stay the same, but for us to change for the better, you know, to become more like him, to be made in his image. And, you know, what I love in the Bible, there's so many examples of God redeeming like women with a past. Jesus loves sketchy women. He loves using sketchy women. Like, if you have a past, you are the perfect person for him. And there's so many examples of that in the Bible. When I think about the woman at the well, let's see, the woman at the well, John chapter 2 or John chapter, I'm not quite sure, but it is in there. I'll just speak about them, like, you know, in general. The woman at the well, if you're not familiar with that story, there was this lady, you know, she went to get water in the middle of the day. She's at a well drawing water, and Jesus walks up to her and was like, let me have some of your water. And she's like, oh, you're talking to me? I'm a Samaritan woman. Like, you're a Jew. You know, Jews and Samaritans don't usually talk to each other. And so she's going back and forth with Jesus. You know what I mean? She's kind of giving him attitude, and he gives her attitude back. And he's like, you're right. Go get your husband. Let me talk to your husband. And she was like, I don't have a husband. He said, exactly. Because you've had 5 husbands, okay? Jesus let her have it. Like, you've had 5 husbands. You've had more than your fair share. And he was like, I'm the living water. He reveals to her that, you know, he is the Messiah. And he took the time to talk to her when back then, like, men didn't talk to women openly like that. And so Jesus has this conversation with her. She runs back in the village and she says, come and meet a man that has told me everything that I've ever did. Jesus told her, like, I know about your sin, but I love you. Let's have this conversation. And she was so moved by that she went and told everybody about this man that she met. And so this shirt is me telling everybody, come meet a man that has told me everything I've ever done and still loved me. That's what this shirt means. Come meet a man. His name is Jesus, who has sat with me and held my hand and given me beauty for my ashes and has put a crown of righteousness on my head when so many people thought that I was going to be discarded. Not on Jesus's watch. And not for me, not for you. Not for me, not for you. And so there's another story of Rahab, the prostitute. The prostitute, when Joshua and them were going into the promised land and they were looking for a place to hide out, she helped the spies come and take, I think it's Jericho, but she was a prostitute. And God used a prostitute to help save the children of Israel as they were taking over the promised land. And people don't know that, but she's one of the descendants of Jesus. Rahab, she ended up marrying an Israelite. And so she is in Jesus's genealogy, a prostitute Jesus used in his story. And then you talk about who else? The woman caught in adultery, the most famous sketchy woman in the Bible. You know, she was caught cheating. Pharisees go and take her, boom, throw her in front of Jesus. Jesus, she was caught doing this, and that. What are you going to do about it? He's like, all right, cool. You do something about it first if you haven't sinned. Okay. So they all walked away and Jesus was just left with her. And she was at Jesus' feet. Jesus said, woman, where are your accusers? Where did they all go? Does no one judge you? She was like, no, sir. And he's like, I don't judge you. Now go and sin no more. Jesus doesn't judge us, but he has commanded us to go and sin no more. After we sit at his feet and we allow him to love us and to heal us, he also empowers us to go and sin no more. And lastly, there's the woman with the alabaster box. It's not confirmed if she was a prostitute. It just says that she was a sinner, and she was preparing Jesus for his burial. She took this expensive perfume, poured it at his feet, and the Pharisees were thinking to himself like, oh, Jesus thinks he's so holy, he's so smart. If he knew everything, he would really know what type of woman this is, that she is. He's letting her touch him, and Jesus is like, chill. She's done more for me than you have. She has taken an expensive thing of perfume and thrown it at my feet. And I've been around here with you and you haven't done nothing for me. Jesus loves women that society wants to discard. And he makes it intentional to make us a part of his story, myself included, the ratchet Christian included. And so I decided to, make that shirt to like own it. You know what I mean? And no one's going to shame me. Shame off of me, shame off of you. Jesus has restored me. And the Bible also said that we shall overcome by the word of our testimony. And this is my testimony. And I have overcome by the word of my testimony. And I'm coming back to encourage you, to let you know that you can overcome by the word of your testimony. Don't let anybody keep you in shame. You have the right to change regardless of the mistakes that you've made. And that's men and women. I went on Facebook a couple months ago and I had saw that one of the biggest hoes that I knew in high school had given their life to Jesus. It was a guy, by the way. When I tell that story, people are like, why would you call a woman that? See, I'm not even talking about a woman. It was a man. He was out there in the streets. He tried to get me. He didn't get me. He didn't get me. Even I was like, bro, you're out there. You ain't finna catch me. But I had seen that he had given his life to Jesus. And I remember a couple years ago, him and I have had a conversation and he was talking about body counts and how, when he reached a certain crazy body count, his boys threw him a party. And I'm like, that is wild. And I was like, so would you date a woman who had a body count as high as yours? He said, no. And so I said, so inherently, you're wrong. Inherently, that that's too much. If you wouldn't date a woman that has the same body count as you, you're out there in the streets. So it was that man that I saw recently had given his life to Jesus. And I rejoiced. I'm like, praise the Lord. There's all this rhetoric about, the Heaux to Jesus pipeline is crazy. The Heaux to Jesus pipeline is crazy. And where else are you going to go? Come to Jesus. If you tried everything, if you've had every sexual partner and you're still not satisfied, come to Jesus. And don't let no one shame you from coming to the feet of the Father for him to redeem you and to restore you and to make you brand new. Your wholeness can be deleted by the blood. Okay? By the blood. There's nothing that the blood won't cover. The blood has you covered. But also, go and sin no more. I want to also, acknowledge men who I feel like have been hurt by damaged women. A lot of these red pill podcasts, a lot of these men that have so much to say about women who have a past are men who have been hurt by women with a past. Maybe their girlfriend in 8th grade cheated on them. I don't know. But I do know that there are valid instances in which well-meaning men encounter, and men and women encounter people who've had a past and aren't healed. And so it's not your job to redeem them. Only Jesus can do that. And if somebody like that has hurt you, you have to bring your pain to Jesus as well. And allow him to do the healing work in your life so that when you meet people like that or people who've had a past, you're not so judgmental against them because you haven't done your unresolved work. Really, that's what it is. So, that really is what all this shirt is about. And I want to take the time to explain that. I feel like it's just a conversation about purity. with women who don't know what the word promiscuous is. You know, I feel like purity culture has sometimes been very toxic to women, and excludes women who aren't coming to the table as virgins. You know what I mean? Purity is for all of us. Purity is for people who've made mistakes. It's not for the ones who, not just for the women whose grandmothers and grandmama and moms were virgins. Like, we're living in 2025. The streets are crazy. Everybody has a past and a baby daddy, or at least 3 divorces under their belt. And so, like, you're going to be dealing with damaged people, but we don't have to stay that way. We just have to give it to Jesus and surrender that part of our life to Jesus, and he will do the restorative work, and put back to sleep all of those things within us that were awakened before its time, all the areas in our life that the devil tries to occupy through sin and through shame. Shame off you, shame off me. I won't be shamed. God has empowered me to change, and I'm just coming back to tell you that he can do the same, and that he loves you. Most importantly, that he loves you. Me being told that I was a sinner was not what allowed me to change. Me knowing that Jesus loved me despite that fact was what allowed me to change. Knowing that I didn't earn his love, so I can't lose his love, is what allowed me to change. Knowing that Jesus loved me when I was in a strip club just as much as he loved me when I was serving on the production team at my church faithfully. My actions didn't determine how much he loved me. His love for me is constant. And if anything, it's empowered me to know that I don't need to go seek for something that I already have. I'm not going to find that type of love in no man's bed. The love that Jesus has for me is not in no one's bed. It's in his heart. It's in his hands. So go to him and he will fulfill you, because lust is never satisfied. It is never satisfied. If you're waiting for that right partner that's going to do it just right and then I'm going to be happy, lust is never satisfied. The only thing that satisfies is Jesus. So this is my shirt, and this is why I made it. I have a website on Etsy. It's called TRC Merch, and I have, a couple variations of it. Look at me. Yeah, I'm not playing, y'all. I do this for real. I designed all of these shirts. They're each custom made. So if you go on Etsy, and in the description of this video, I'll put the link to this website. So if you want the exact one that I'm wearing, the Jesus Love Heaux, the premium, this one is a little bit more expensive to make, so it's a little bit more in price, but it's there. Then I just have a plain one that just says the Ratchet Christian. If you're like, okay, girl, like I'm not a hoe. My body count is 002. That's cool. You can just get yourself a regular Ratchet Christian t-shirt. Even if you're not a Ratchet Christian, people ask you like, what is that? It's like, it's just this crazy girl that I follow. She's funny. I like her story. So the shirts are there. You have them in white and black. There's different types of, there it is. Hey, here we go. I have different types of varieties. And Solomon, you can scroll up too. I don't mind. I haven't premiered it. So I have 2 sales. But that's because
else there.
Huh?
There's nothing else there.
There's nothing else there? That's the top of it?
Yeah, it's just, I zoomed in so we can see the
Oh, amazing. Oh, no, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, as something that I've invested in, they're there. I'll put the description, the link for the shirts in my bio, and get it if you want to. You don't have to. It's not about the merch for me. It's about the message. It's about an opportunity to preach to people. And I just think about, the women. I think about the women and the children and the men too, because it's they're often not talked about as being SA survivors. But I'm like, what about them? They deserve a voice. They deserve to be encouraged. I'm someone that talks about Epstein a lot on here, and all of this is about Epstein. And it's never about the victims. It's never about the women whose lives have been ruined. It's never about the children whose lives have been ruined. We don't know their names. We don't know their faces. Not everybody believes their story. I just want to humanize them. And I want to let people know victims look like me. People like me, I love when people say, oh my gosh, I would have never guessed that you were a stripper. I'm like, look at the restorative work that Jesus has done in my life. You would never know. I don't look like what I've been through. And that's because of God, and so I just want to just show love to them, show love to people who have a past. Because a lot of times you didn't get that way on your own. Most of the time, you didn't get that way on your own. Prostitutes aren't out there because they were loved so well and had fantastic parents and had everything that they needed growing up. A lot of times you are a victim of your circumstances and the choices that you make. You think you're your own, but life leads you down a path that sometimes you can end up where you don't want to be, but it's never too it's never too late to turn around and make better choices and different choices. And I just want to say, I see you. I believe you. This year alone, at the age of 33, I've had 2 people in my family deny what it is that happened to me and call me a liar. I'm 33 years old. I was sexually abused by a cousin at 7 years old. I've had 2 people in my family this year alone say, oh, we don't think that was true, even though we went to court, even though it was proven in the court of law. Like, when I see how people treat Cassie, like when I see how, people have treated Meg Thee Stallion, it can be so triggering for me. But I'm like, you know what, Lord, you know what happened. You were there. And I just want to let you know that I believe you. If no one else believes you, I believe you. And I want to encourage you and tell you, you don't walk with your head in shame. Walk with your head held high. Shame off of you. You can be redeemed. You can be restored. And there will be justice for the people who have done wrong things to you. Bring it to Jesus. I could talk about this all day, but I'm going to wrap it up and just say thank you all for listening to my story. As always, share your story too, because that's how we overcome. Share your story with somebody. Each one, teach one, encourage others. And thank you for listening to mine. Thank you for listening to mine. And so if you want the shirt, I'm going to drop the link in the description, or you can find it on my Instagram somewhere, or you can find it on Etsy at TRC Merch Shop. I think that's what it's called. And I thank you all for listening. I pray that you'll like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody, leave me a comment, share your story with me. I love talking to y'all. I love getting to know y'all better. And so just thank you so much again for everything, for 1 year of this podcast. My podcast is almost a year old, and I thank you for all the new subscribers that I have. Like, it's been such a blessing to me. And thank you. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Wanna see everybody throw it up. If you ain't folks, can't go with us. After school program, just don't do